Ladies and gentlemen, hello Internet, and welcome to the Diz Idiots podcast for May 4th, 2021. Dozer and Bruce coming to you live from the Creaky Tiki studio. Today we are covering when to book, where to book, and why to book your trip to Disney World. Bruce, give us an introduction for yourself today.
Hi, I'm Bruce.
That works. As you can tell, we do this completely raw without a script, so deal with it.
Unhinged, off the cuff. What you hear is our real feelings, real thoughts, real opinions. Nothing rehearsed, nothing scripted.
Mostly because I'm a terrible writer and I don't feel like taking the time to write this out. So, I think the most important thing, we're the idiots, so you don't have to be. We've both been to Disney World. Basically every time of year you could possibly have been to Disney World. And before we get off to the bat of when to book, I think we need to talk about when not to book. Bruce, when do you not want to go to Disney World?
See, now this opens up a lot here because Disney World is so different than a lot of other places for vacation. There's a lot of time of year Disney's people try to find when's it not busy. Disney's always busy. There's always going to be lines. You're going to have to wait in lines. But when not to book certain things, Christmas time, the holiday season. It's a great idea to go to Disney for the holidays. You and about 100,000 of your best friends have the same idea.
And let me state, this guide is being designed for the people who, this is their first trip to Disney or their first trip in a long time. Therefore, this may be your one trip in your life or once every 10 years. It's not something you do often, so you want to make sure you do it right.
And when I say holidays, I'm really talking, once you get about it's changed a little bit, but just into a little bit into December is when you really want to start staying away. Late in December, especially that week, Christmas and New Year's, avoid. It's bad. Another thing you want to do, I know with a lot of kids are off from school, it sounds like a great idea, the summer months, and I'm talking basically about mid to late May till about early September. Early to mid-September even. And not only is it, forget the crowds, folks, this is Central Florida. So a lot of you, if you know this, already know. But if you don't know, it's hot. And I say hot, it's broilingly hot. Now, granted, Disney World's better than Disneyland when it comes to shade. But trust me on this, you do not want to walk around Epcot in the middle of August. It's brutal.
I don't know what you're talking about. One of my favorite times to go has always been right after Labor Day. There were less crowds because mainly only the Northeast was not back in school yet.
Labor Day, September. I said August.
Yes, but guess what? It's still hot as balls.
It's still my favorite. I usually go down mid-September. It's going to be hot and humid, but certainly not as hot as the dog days of August. It's still hot. Do not get me wrong. But yeah, after Labor Day, like I said, early to mid-September is when it starts getting good again. But the middle of the summer, it's not just a popular national tourist spot, it's a popular international tourist destination.
Absolutely. I'm going to add one more thing. Don't go over spring break.
Spring break is a huge, let me put it this way, folks. Spring break just happened every single day. Capacity.
It's not fun.
It's not fun. It's a huge time to go. Holidays in general. I went down Columbus Day weekend 2 years ago. The weekend before and after would have been great. Columbus Day weekend was rough.
I've been on Columbus Day, and because my favorite week to go, and I am biased, and I do not recommend this week for your first-time guests, and I'll get into that. But my favorite week to go is the first week of October. Now, one, I am biased to this week. One, it is my birthday. Two, it is the anniversary of when I proposed to my wife in Disney World. Three, it is Mickey's Not So Scary. Four, it is Food and Wine Festival. You get a big swath of things in that week. Now, why I don't recommend you go as a first-time guest is you have the Not So Scary going on. Now, why that is a lot of fun, and it's a great party, and I highly recommend it. but it also means in your precious week, you are looking at 2 to 3 nights where the Magic Kingdom will be closing early. And to attend this party, it is an upcharge of basically another day's ticket.
Just about.
It is really, for your first time, I do not recommend it. But that is my favorite week to go. I'm biased, though.
Now, granted, to add on to what my buddy here, Dozer's here, saying, is that the one thing to note with Not So Scary, it runs from about mid to late August through Halloween. So there's a huge swath of Not So Scary. There's plenty of Not So Scary opportunity. But as he mentioned there, that is a good cross-stitch to get everything. But especially if it's the first trip and you don't know, it can really, you're not going to know to look at the times. If Magic Kingdom closes at 7 p.m., that's a party night. That's a pure and simple.
Yeah. If I was to recommend when to go as a first-time guest, mid-May. You want to hit this sweet spot right before the schools are out, because ain't nobody pulling their kids out that last 2 weeks of school. Nobody's doing it. They're all in final exams. Some of the southern schools may already be off, but they're still not hopping right into the vacation modes. This is a sweet spot. You're right after spring break. The only downside is there is a little bit of a training going on, as there's a lot of staff turnover right around this time. But you will still get
their ears. It's okay.
You will still get a magical experience with a slightly lesser crowd than you might normally find in the Disney World. Bruce, when would you recommend they go?
You know, this one's tough for me because I usually would recommend, actually, I've been recommending late February about to early March has always been my sweet spot, because you get a good cross section. It's warm, but it's not too warm. It's not too cool. But that seems to be getting a little more crowded then. Honestly, I'm a big fan of late October. Late October is a good time to go.
I can't imagine why you would say this.
Now, late October, I can't picture at all why.
As you can tell, we're both in the October camp for very different reasons.
For very different reasons. But on top, honestly, forgetting what happens down the street out of it, late October tends to be, it starts getting a little cool again. The crowds do tend to cut back just a little bit. And it's late October, mid-November can be not too bad of a time to go. But unfortunately anymore, Disney World is that popular. It kind of doesn't really matter when, unless it's a peak season or a holiday. Also, while I'm mentioning that, they're doing pricing based on the season. Peak season's more money. When's peak season? Basically all year.
So, I'm going to let you in on a little secret, because you're going to have all these old Disney curmudgeons that are going to tell you their best week to go. And they'll say, there's never a crowd there. It's always empty. I bet you if you take their week and compare it to the Run Disney calendar, there's a race going on that week, because all those painfully slow weeks Disney has plugged in with marathons and half marathons.
Disney has found a way to fill their parks. And also, when it comes down to it, people say, well, when's it not going to be busy? Sometimes it depends on the park you go to.
Absolutely.
You could pick the wrong park on the wrong day.
And I highly recommend touringplans.com, completely non-sponsored here, but they have a crowd calendar. They will tell you about where the crowds will be on any given day on a scale of 1 to 10. And don't get scared. Magic Kingdom is almost always at an 8. That's just how it is.
Magic Kingdom also can house about the most amount of guests that you can at one time. It is really remarkable considering the size of it compared to some of the other parks. All about Magic Kingdom can fit inside the Safari and Animal Kingdom. There, I said it.
It can.
So it needed to be said. Couldn't help it. But yeah, touringplans.com is excellent. Is it a science? No. Could they be wrong? Of course they can. But it's certainly anything you can do to help yourself, any knowledge you have. But certainly, especially the old school, things change at Disney so often. They pack everything. In February, cheerleading competitions. Those bring another uptick in crowd.
Oh, yes.
The cheerleaders
Pop
and their
Warner.
families.
Pop Warner brings a ton of stuff.
You gotta tip your hat, like it or lump it. They do a good job to pack those parks and resorts.
They absolutely do. And saying the resorts, You're going to Disney World. You're going to want to stay. You're preferably going to need a room or something. So, I'm not going to give you recommendations on where to stay off property. That you're going to have, if you want to stay off property, that research you're going to have to do on your own. I'm not recommending any of those hotels. Now, I will say, with some recent changes Disney has made, it can actually be a little bit more cost efficient to stay off property, since now you have to pay to park even if you're staying at a hotel. That paying to park was always the difference maker.
If you're renting a car.
Yes, which with Magical Express going away by the time most of these lovely people will be going on vacation, they absolutely will be renting a car, or that is going to be one heck of an Uber ride.
Actually, not as bad as you would think, but yes. I do the taxi a lot down there. Support your local taxis. One thing also to consider when you think of staying, if you're not going to stay on property, which is certainly affordable, a couple things to consider with that. One, are you just going to be at Disney? When there's nothing wrong if there's other local attractions to see, SeaWorld, Universal, there's other Gatorland, other local
You're going to love this park.
Gatorland, Holland Experience. Other plenty of things to see. So you could, but when if you're looking off to stay off property, plenty of hotels near Disney Springs and whatnot. Look into transportation, because a lot of them do offer transportation to local parks, and they advertise that. They'll advertise if there's transportation to or from the airport, if it's affordable, how to book it. So if you're going to stay off property, there's all things to look into and all great things. Listen, we certainly are here to talk about Disney World, but we also know, and Disney used to teach their cast members this, it's expensive, and they know it. For most people, this is a once-in-a-lifetime trip. So we know if you can save a few dollars by staying off property, that's going to get it done for you. It's a wonderful thing, and we certainly support that.
Absolutely. But now, if you want to make the leap and you want to be fully indoctrinated into the Disney way, you're going to want to stay on property. And if you're staying on property, you're going to log in to WDW.com or whatever the website is. I think there's a .go in there, like that's still a thing. And you're going to see, there are 4, maybe 5 categories of hotel. You've got your value. You've got your moderate. You've got your deluxe. You've got your deluxe villa. And you have your campground. And depending on how they feel, they may lump family suites in as their own hotel. Now, I'm going to be completely honest with you. It's been forever since I've stayed at a value level resort. But generally speaking, the current creme de la creme is Pop Century. That's what everybody likes. Art of Animation's there, but that's more of the family suite style.
Art of Animation, I believe, is all suites. They were supposed to offer rooms. I don't know if they ever did. It's mostly suites. Pop Century also is centrally located, whereas the other big values, all the All-Stars, music, movies, and I'm blanking on the third All-Star.
Sports.
Thank you. Sports. Of course, I got to forget sports. Thank you. The All-Stars are also great. They're great. They're affordable. They're wonderful. All-Stars are all the way back by Animal Kingdom. And if you're not familiar with Disney property, they're far out of the way. Now, the only reason I mention that, it's not a problem. You can get around. They have the bus system. When you're thinking of getting to a park and getting from a park, especially at the end of a long day, that can make a whole lot of difference. Now, granted, the All-Stars, depending on the size of the resort, depends on how many buses they're going to have flowing between. Port Orleans French Quarter or Moderate is not going to have as many buses necessarily as All-Stars, because All-Stars is going to have more people.
Yes, everything is based off of capacity, and I'm going to drop a little knowledge bomb here, because the Art of Animation Resort has 2 buildings that are normal hotel rooms.
Oh, they do? Okay.
Because, if you remember correctly, they started building the Art of Animation, or what was known as the Legacy Years, the Legendary Years.
It was supposed to be Pop Century.
Yes, and 2 buildings were built before they stopped building on that project.
Correct.
Those 2 buildings are standard hotel rooms.
I thought they did. I know they go so fast because there's so few of them compared to the rest. I thought they did, but I wasn't sure. Because again, Disney is an ever-changing thing, ever-changing animal. You just never know what they're going to do next.
It absolutely is. And now this brings us to what I consider the sweet spot of hotel. That is your moderates. Now, in your moderates, you have Port Orleans Riverside, Port Orleans French Quarter. Yes, they're slightly different hotels. Yes, one used to be called Dixie Landing. If you're old, deal with it. There's Coronado Springs, the Convention Center Hotel. Take that for what I just said, which they just have a brand new tower. There's Old Key West. No, Old Key West is DVC. Bruce, moderate me. Caribbean Beach. Look,
I was like, come on, buddy. You know, it's on the tip of my tongue. My family has loved Caribbean Beach. We love Coronado. We also love French Quarter. That's where I've gotten people to spec.
So I am going to put it this way. I'm a Port Orleans snob. That is my resort. If you are going and you are just adults, you go to the French Quarter. If you have kids, you go to Riverside. This is not any hard and fast rule that Disney applies. But the French Quarter is a lot more compact. There's a little less to do. And it's a little bit more adult-oriented. Whereas Riverside has all the kid activities. It has the bigger pool. It's got the stick pole fishing. It's got... I think they finally sacked Yeehaw Bob, and that just makes me incredibly sad.
Anything entertainment-wise, hold off. I hear a lot of them may not be gone forever. It was just temporary. That's what I hear. Rumor.
I will report it as I see it for now.
Of course.
But Yeehaw Bob is an attraction in and of himself. And if you're in the French Quarter, you got to get them beignets.
The beignets are delicious.
So, I guess that brings us to the deluxe apartment in the sky. Now, deluxe is where you begin to enter a unique world. You get to choose what park you want to be closest to. And this is actually really key to your planning.
100%.
If you have kids and you are going to be spending a lot of time at the Magic Kingdom and you're going deluxe, contemporary. Yes, the other hotels are right there. The contemporary don't even need a monorail. You walk. It is faster than the monorail. Do it every day. It is way better.
It's a nice walk. It's not too far. And honestly, and I know I say at the end of a long day, frankly, at the end of the long day, it's going to be easier than going to the monorail. Also, if you happen to be there and the monorails, be it weather, be it all sorts of anything, the monorail just happens to not be working that day, you are going to be very thankful for that walk.
If you choose to stay at Polynesian, just be aware, there's a chance your room may be near the ferry dock. And that boat starts early and goes late, and it is not a fun time. Ask me how I know.
How do you know?
Because I had a room all the way at the end of the building right next to the ferry dock. It was great when I needed to get on the ferry.
Yeah.
Bad every other time. Actually, it was still like a unique walk because I did like do a U. I could go like, bloop, but no.
Actually, to correct you here, while we're on the subject of the monorail loop, our last one is the Grand Floridian, which is getting a pathway to the Magic Kingdom. If it has not opened yet, I know it's completed or darn near completion, opening soon. So technically, you have two options to walk to the park. And
technically, I believe you always could walk to the Polynesian, just nobody did.
You can walk to it's honestly it's not worth it because you're the last monorail stop anyway. So whoop.
Yeah, it's a walk, but you could. So that brings us to since I think we're just doing all the deluxes at this point because they're all a little bit unique. They all got a little bit more to talk about than anything else. That
Their
brings us.
amenities. The amenities is where while we're not to cut you off here, buddy, but while we're talking about that, the amenities go up at the deluxe resorts. But the amenities are fine. Listen, they're all great. There's plenty of amenities for the kids and such at the smaller resorts, but they're standard. Here's a pool, here's an arcade, things like that. The deluxe is where everything starts to kick up a little bit.
Absolutely. Now, that brings us to our deluxe moderate resort. I say that because it is often the cheapest of the deluxes to book at, and that is Wilderness Lodge. It's unique. It's a campground. It's not that big.
It's a little off the beaten path, but honestly, it's one of my favorite resorts because I love the lobby of the Wilderness Lodge. I just love the Wilderness Lodge in general because of the unique feel of it.
Yes, I've never stayed at the Wilderness Lodge, but I love walking in there. I love those big totem poles. It is a great place to go.
Oh, it really is. Whispering Canyon, baby.
Oh, that is one of the best restaurants on property.
Mm-hmm.
Coming soon to a podcast near you. So that brings us to, I guess we'll go in order of resort age, the Epcot and Hollywood Studios area resorts. Now, these are all great. Because for the deluxes, you can walk to Epcot and Hollywood Studios from all of them. Not enough people do. Especially Hollywood Studios. That path is a little creepy.
I don't recommend it.
But I used to walk between... Yes, but you know what? I have walked between Epcot and Hollywood Studios, and I have beat the boat. I can walk faster than that boat because of how many stops it needs to make.
It does make a lot of stops, and it makes a lot of close stops.
It's very frustrating. But, so we're going to you got Beach and Yacht Club, best pool on property, right here, right now. It's got the sandy bottom pool. It is amazing. And as a guest of that resort, you will have exclusive use of that pool, as that's even a pool my DVC membership cannot get me in.
I apologize. I would like to apologize right here and now, fellow loyal listeners. I was one of the people that ruined that. When I was on my college program, we abused the privilege of going to Yacht and Beach's pool all the time. So unfortunately, I was one of the people that helped ruin that for everybody else. I do apologize.
Then there is Boardwalk. Which Boardwalk is a great hotel. It has its own little downtown, its own little boardwalk district. It's got a couple more restaurants than most of the other ones. It even has a nightclub, I guess that's still there.
Jelly Rolls and the dance hall.
Yeah, the dance hall is what I was thinking of. I wasn't even thinking of Jelly Rolls. Because I don't go there often. Because I remember the one time I went right when the boardwalk first opened, and I just went, we're going to the boardwalk. We're going to walk the boardwalk. Oh, it was like 5 stores. They made a big deal about this, and it was nothing. But, it's there. It's a great resort. It's got a cool slide. The roller coaster slide is kind of cool.
The roller coaster slide is awesome. It has been redone recently. I hear the clown head is still there, but it was redone to feature Mickey and Friends.
Hiya, guys!
Yeah.
Okay. Wow, that was a weird accent. And that finally brings us to, that is really all the deluxe hotels there, but I think we got to talk about the dolphin in the room.
The dolphin in the room?
Yeah, or the swan.
What about the swan next door?
Yeah. These are just some giant hotels that aren't owned by Disney, but are right here.
They're right there. They're right in the middle of the property. We do have the swan and dolphin.
They're there.
The dolphin used to have a Shula's in it. I don't know if it still does.
I believe it still has a Shula's. It has a Todd English Blue Zoo.
They're very nice hotels, from what I understand. I've been in the lobbies. I've never seen much of them, but they're there if you wish. If that's what you're looking for, and that's within your budget. It's all about the budget.
Absolutely, and for some reason, they're the most likely resort to have a nice convention discount going on. I don't know why. I've also heard they have a great teacher discount. It is what it is.
You learn something new every day.
Yes. And now I think that brings us to, it's my favorite deluxe. It may be one of Bruce's favorite deluxes, and that is the Animal Kingdom Lodge.
Dackle.
Yes, the Dackle. 1, best restaurants on property, bar none. 2, animals outside your room, if you book on the right side of the hotel. If you book on the wrong side of the hotel, you just have to walk to the lobby. And animals.
Okay.
Don't even need to go to the park. Animals. That's all. It's got, the pools are not that great. The food is not that close. But they've got great sit-down restaurants.
Great sit-down restaurants.
Like, legit best on property. Except for Vicky and Al's Food Shack down at Grand Flow.
Slop Shack.
Okay, so I think that concludes the deluxe hotels. Now, do we need to talk about the elephant in the room?
I think so, because we certainly know there's a couple more hotels on property.
There are. Which elephant do you want to talk about first?
Dealer's choice, my friend.
No. I'm pushing this one to you.
Pushing this one to me? I don't know. I think Old Key W needs to be talked about next.
Old Key West. So we're going to talk about the DVC hotels?
Yeah.
So these will be, if you look under the Disney booking guide, you're going to see Deluxe Villa. These are your DVC hotels. And if you are paying cash, you are paying way too much money. But this is where you could get your traditional Orlando timeshare experience. You will have, if you book anything larger than a studio, you will have a full kitchen. You'll have 1 to 3 bedrooms. You'll have most of the amenities of a deluxe resort and then some. They've got cool movie rentals that I guess some people use. Yeah, I've really just used them as a normal hotel. I've never even gotten a room bigger than a studio, so. Honestly, if you are not a DVC member and you are paying cash, I recommend looking at rental houses in the area for these prices.
They're very nice hotels. You have Old Key West, you have Saratoga Springs. Now, if you're looking to be pampered, if you're someone who likes to have a really nice, relaxing time, Saratoga Springs is the spot. Old Key West, however, just jump back to Old Key West for a second. I love the theming of Old Key West. Not great for the buses. Not great for the buses at all. I'm sorry, we have to make a dead end and we have to back up here.
It's terrible for the buses.
But I do love Saratoga Springs. It's right across from Disney Springs. That's where the spa is. That's where if you want to be pampered, that's where you're going to book time.
Or just go to the Grand Flow.
Grand Flow also has a spa.
And honestly, if you're looking at Grand Flow, Saratoga Springs, the sort of on property, there's a Four Seasons.
Mm-hmm.
Stay there. If you really want the top dollar high end experience, go to the Four Seasons. You're going to get a better value. It's weird saying that for a Four Seasons, but it is. It's a better value. I think Bruce is frozen in time.
No, I'm here. I thought you were going on with something else.
No, I was going to move to the next elephant in the room, and that is a campground.
Ah, Fort Wilderness Campground.
The original accommodation.
Now, what I love Fort Wilderness Campground because you can rent a whole cabin. You can drive up to it. You can rough it. They have a room. They have a Murphy bed. Depending on the cabins. Me and my friends did stay at the cabins once. Had a real great time. That was a real good time. I love Fort Wilderness Campground. Also, one of two things to note here. One of my favorite hidden gem restaurants on property in Trails End. Also, for those of you not staying who maybe never heard of Fort Wilderness, if you want to do the Hoop-de-Doo review, which used to be inside the Magic Kingdom, that's where you're going to have to do it at Fort Wilderness Campground. And you simply, how do you get there? Your boat. You can take a bus or your boat from the Magic Kingdom.
And then you take a bus to leave.
Yes.
That's just how that works. Okay, and I think this leaves the biggest elephant in the room. If you are one of our fine service members, you can look, we thank you, and you can look and try to book at Shades of Green. This is an exclusive hotel run by the armed services for exclusive use of our servicemen and women.
With the golf course.
With a golf course, and it has pricing is based off your pay grade. So you don't make a lot, you don't pay a lot. It's one of the few advantages.
Also to note with Shades of Green, if you are, again, we all thank you very much for your service. You certainly deserve what you get there. As Shades of Green is a very nice resort level. The drive-in with the golf course around you, it is beautiful. But with Shades of Green, if you are a service member who is buying park tickets, again, I'm going back a few years when I was selling them. So we're going back, oh my gosh, a decade. Wow.
Oh,
anyway, wow. Yeah. So if you are a service member, Shades of Green is where you buy them to buy them. If you're a service member, there's going to be no tax and such on them. In the parks, there is going to be tax. So Shades, that's where you want to do that. Shades of Green.
He's got it. And I think that just about concludes our first Diz Idiots guide to Disney.
It's a lot to sponge in here. I know we overloaded, yes, certainly. Questions, comments, concerns, let us know. We'll touch on anything you want, but that's our first guide. We have a lot more to go before you're actually in the parks having fun.
Yes, and I think we're just going to end with one little more bombshell. I am going to recommend you book your vacation no sooner than 9 months out. 6 months is the drop dead date, but I'd go 9 just to be
9, just to be clear, just to be safe. Make sure you get what you want. Disney really, really pushes, and this is where I really is not fair to people who don't know. Disney really pushes the 180.
Absolutely.
The 180 out. They really plan the 180 out, and you really want to be prepared. Our job is to help you be as prepared as possible, for those who are listening. So when you do go, you can think, those guys gave me a couple helpful tips. They were helpful. You're welcome.
Absolutely. And we're the Diz Idiots podcast. We're the idiots. So you don't have to be, and may the 4th be with you.